Salve te discipuli. This is Help for Your Latin Studies in Henle First Year Latin, exercise number 242. In this exercise, we will translate some sentences from Latin to English, and we will make use of our new knowledge about the verbs in subjunctive mood. But before we do anything with the exercise, let's take a look at the reading that was done leading up to exercise number 242. First, we read a section called Mood in Purpose Clauses. In this section, it's telling us that there's a main clause. In these sentences to follow, there will be a main clause and a subordinate clause. And that the main clause will have a subject and a verb, and then we'll have a phrase like in order that or in order to, all of that summed up in one word in Latin, which is ut, U-T. And then after the word ut, we will have a subordinate clause. So again, the pattern of these sentences in the following exercise is main clause plus ut plus subordinate clause. And that ut can be translated in a couple of different ways. But just as we're easing into this information, we'll translate it like in order that he may. And that should sound familiar to what we've been doing in the subjunctive, because every time we have translated a verb so far in the subjunctive mood, present tense, it's that I may or that you may, whatever the verb is. Okay, so that kind of fits in with what we already know. In these sentences, that subordinate clause, the second one that comes after ut, will express the purpose of what's happening in the main clause. So the example given is, he is fighting, there's your main clause, in order that, there's your ut, he may defend the city. That's your subordinate clause. And what we're learning is that the subordinate clause must be in this next exercise, that subordinate clause, the second clause, must be in the subjunctive. And you'll notice that rule at the top then of page 227. A purpose clause is introduced by ut, and the verb in the purpose clause is put in the subjunctive. Again, the purpose clause is that subordinate clause. So you'll have your main clause, then ut, then the subordinate clause, also known as a purpose clause, in which the verb should be in the subjunctive. Okay, so a couple of things to just keep in mind as we move forward. And you've been given some new vocabulary words, so look for those as well. All right, let's look at exercise number 242. And it tells us, translate, point out the main clause, point out the subordinate purpose clause, and then diagram sentences 1 and 2. I'm not going to do the diagramming in the video, but I would encourage you to try that. And they give you an example of a sentence diagram here on page 227 using the two clauses connected by ut. Okay. So number 1 in exercise 242 says, castra wallo munit ut ea defendat. Okay, so we know that our pattern is main clause, ut, subordinate clause. And a subordinate purpose clause, the verb must be in the subjunctive mood. Okay, let's take it one clause at a time, and we'll start with a main clause. Castra wallo munit. Okay, we know that castra is a noun, and it is a neuter noun. It is plural. It means camp. And because it's neuter and plural, this ending, it could be nominative or it could be accusative. because you'll remember that the neuter rule tells us no matter what noun, if it's neuter, the nominative and accusative case endings will match. So in this particular instance, castra is always declined in the plural form. A, orum, is, a, is. So it could be nominative or accusative. We don't know yet. Is this a subject or is it a direct object? Let's keep investigating. For now, I'm going to say that it's a noun. It could be nominative or it could be accusative, and I'll just put a question mark there. We need to find out. Then we have another noun, wallow, that was just given to us. Wallum, wally, another second declension neuter noun, meaning wall or rampart. And let's think about this ending, o. If we decline the second declension neuter noun, o, that could be dative or it could be ablative. And since we've been working so much with ablatives, I'm going to guess that that's what it is, and it's also singular. Oh, and I should note that this is also plural. Okay, and then we have our verb. And that verb, I'm just going to verify real quick here. Munio. Oops, I think it's a fourth. Yep, here it is. Fourth conjugation verb. Munio, meaning to fortify. Okay, so munio, munire, it's gonna be conjugated like audio, right? Because it's the fourth conjugation verb. Okay, I feel like I've lost my place here. But let's go ahead and look. Here we are. Let's go ahead and look real fast in the grammar book about those fourth conjugation verbs. Active voice, indicative mood. Here we go. Fourth conjugation ending, it. So this is a present tense. Third person singular. That's what we can find out there. So this is third person singular present tense. And I'll just note that it's also fourth conjugation. Okay, so those are all the things that we know about the words in the first clause or the main clause. The fact that our verb is third person singular, remember our verb has to agree with the subject in a number and tense. So, or person and number rather, person and number, third person singular. So while castra, camp, is third person, it's plural. Castra is always declined in the plural, which leads me to conclude that it is an accusative. This is our direct object. And our subject must be part of the verb. It's probably a pronoun, right? It's a subject pronoun. He fortifies. And it's present tense, so it's happening now. So we could say he fortifies, he does fortify, or he is fortifying. Okay? He is fortifying. Who or what? Fying. Who or what? The camp. And then we have this ablative noun, wallow, and it has no preposition attached to it. So it's an ablative of means. We could say by means of or with a wall. One wall. It's not plural, it's singular. So he is fortifying the camp by means of a wall. This one stumps people too because camp, it looks singular in English, but it's always plural in Latin. I just tell my students to think of it as many tense. Kind of like enemy is typically going to be declined in the plural, many bad guys. Just think of it that way. But in English, we write camp or we write enemy and it looks singular. Okay, so there's our main clause. He is fortifying the camp by means of a wall, ut. In order that. And then let's go ahead and look. Ea defendat. Okay, defendat is a verb. And again, I'm going to flip here to my little verb glossary and see that defendo, defendere, defendi, defensus is a third conjugation verb, meaning to defend. And since it's a third conjugation verb, that matters because that's going to help me put the right, or match the right ending to it in the subjunctive. So defendat, third conjugation, at is the ending in the subjunctive mood. And that would be translated like that I may, or sorry, that he, she, or it may, and then the meaning of the verb, defend. So we have, in order that he may defend. Okay, that T is a third person singular. And it's present, but it's in the subjunctive mood, so it's like a hypothetical, right? In order that he may defend ea. What is ea? Do you remember your personal pronouns? If not, turn in your grammar book to page 34. Is, ea, id. Now, we don't even have a noun that's feminine in this sentence. So even though I see ea here, I know it doesn't mean she. Where else might we see ea? Oh, plural nominative or plural accusative. And that pronoun has the same agreement of case and number and gender, neuter, as our main noun, or as our nouns, I should say, in the main clause as camp. And that's what he's defending. That's what he wants to defend, right? He's fortifying the camp by means of a wall in order that he may defend ea. There's your direct object. And we wouldn't say them. You'll notice over here on page 35 of the rule book, it says the meanings given for the masculine and feminine of is, ea, id hold only when the pronoun refers to persons. And I think the same thing is true in the neuter. If it refers to persons, then we would say them. But in this case, the camp is not a person. So we would go ahead and say it, in order that he may defend it. We might say them if it was a collection of things, like tents. We might say, he's fortifying the tents by means of a wall in order that he may defend them. But since we're using the word camp, it's a collective of the tents, then we'll go ahead and make that pronoun there, it. Okay, I hope that this has been helpful to you. Keep working, keep persevering. Remember that main clause plus ut plus the subordinate clause, which has a subjunctive verb in it, and you'll do great. Have a great day.